Hey homies, so whenever you're thinking about where you can renovate your house to get the best bang for your buck, especially when it comes to resale value, they usually say the kitchen and the main bathroom and bedroom are the places to focus on. So I wanted to give you some tips and tricks whenever you are designing or renovating your kitchen to make sure that you are thinking through all of the little details that come with designing a kitchen. First things first, the countertop. So if it's for your kitchen, obviously, if you cook or use your kitchen at all, you're gonna want to make sure that the countertop is durable. We have quartz countertops, but there's also quartzite that's really popular for the kitchen. And that type of material is really good because it cleans really well. It doesn't, seep in, I guess, like the moisture or the stains that come in. We cook with a lot of red stews, tomato-based stews, and drink red wine. So we need something that can take a spill and not, seep it in. Quartz has done well with us. I believe price, it's quartz and then quartzite. We built through a builder, as most of you know. So in order to get the type of material you want for a countertop, it can get really expensive fast with a builder. Whenever we did our bar and we put countertop on top of it, we were actually very pleasantly surprised to see that you can actually get a lot more options for a lot less money if you go outside the builder. We've had friends who just kind of got basic countertops, and then before they even moved in, they had somebody come in and replace the countertops that were brought in through the builder and replaced it with countertops that they bought outside of the builder, and it was a lot cheaper for them to do it that way. For us, we just didn't want any more construction. We were ready to move in and just deal with what we had. And so we did the best with what the options that the builder provided without going too crazy. So people tend to try to get to countertops that are I guess marble-like with the veins, which is very modern looking. So don't confuse this with marble. Marble is terrible. It will stain instantly in your kitchen, right? This is quartz, and I think quartzite can come with that too, but it's just the veins. Keep in mind that the more veiny the countertop, the more expensive it's going to be, especially through the builder. And we have a lot of countertop, if you have not remembered. So it was going to cost us a lot to get that modern, veiny look into our kitchen. And we also were considering, if we can't get the veins, can we just get pure white? That's also the other end of expensive if you're just trying to get pure white countertop, which is what we did in our bathroom because I had less countertop space. Instead, we opted for this option. As you see, it's a little veiny, and we've actually really liked it. It just doesn't add too much. It kind of just stays simple and sleek, and we can use the rest of our kitchen to kind of highlight other areas besides the countertop itself. So keep that in mind. If you're doing it within the builder, just know that there's a lot of countertop space, so it can get expensive quick. We also opted to do two tones. So our back countertop is actually like a black charcoal color. We really, really like because our cabinets are white. And because our cabinets are white, the black contrasts with it a little more so that it doesn't look, the kitchen just doesn't look so white, right? We at first wanted to do our cabinets black, but then it can really darken a space when you paint something black. So we opted for the countertops to be black and leave the cabinets white, and we really loved that look. Another thing people really love is this waterfall feature. Not surprisingly, waterfall feature for your countertops are super expensive. We love them. We got it for our bar. We did not do it for our kitchen because it's a lot of material. And to be honest, it's kind of a little bit of waste. It's very good to the eyes, very nice design, makes it look very sleek, very modern. But the larger the island or whatever counter you have, the more extra material that you're going to need to cover the whole space. And so for us, since we would especially have to do on both sides of the island, it was just going to be too much. So we did it for our bar, but we just did not do it for our kitchen. But it's something super sleek. So if we ever decide to redo our kitchen, we would probably be very tempted to add it to our kitchen countertop, our kitchen island outside of the builder. If you do it through the builder, it's gonna be super expensive, but totally up to you, of course. Next up is your stovetop. So for us, we ultimately bought our stove obviously through the builder, and so which means it was more expensive. We did a 5-top, which we felt that was good for us, but again, that's something it wasn't that costly, so you could obviously upgrade it through them or upgrade outside of the builder, which is probably a lot cheaper. There was also some other things you could do to your stovetop that we opted out of doing. There's like a pot filler, which probably would have been very helpful for us because we do cook a lot. It was just, additional plumbing, extra money. We just were like, the sink is right next to it. Why do we need a pot filler? But make sure if you do get a pot filler, it's usually right on top of the stovetop. You should make sure to consider the height. I've seen, or maybe a friend, it happened to a friend, I can't remember, but where the pot filler is so low and so you can only do small pots, but like, at least us Nigerians, we got some big pots, so make sure it's pretty high. There was also things you can put on the side of the stovetop. It was like to put spices, and so it would be a rack that pulled out. Again, we opted to not do that. We could just use one of our drawers and organize it well for spices, but that's something to definitely consider because it just helps if you're super functional space, and just to help have everything have a place to live. So definitely consider that. Also, side note, 2 things. One, we got double ovens, which we absolutely love. We did not realize how cheap it was actually to add the second oven. It was really not that much, even through the builder. So definitely consider that because it's definitely an add value when it comes to reselling the house. And we actually use both ovens often, more often than we thought we would need to. So, I always ask, like, if there's a feature that you want, it's weird, especially if you're a builder. There are things that like you would be so surprised that they cost so much, and then there's other things where they're just like, yeah, it's $50. You're like, at that point, what is $50 gonna do? So definitely make sure you always ask, just like, what's the cost of this? Because you never know. And obviously, if you're building a house, you should make it the best it can be for your budget. Second thing, we did not realize that when it comes to your cabinets, the handles don't just automatically come with it. So we got the handles of our cabinets done afterwards. It's really expensive through the builder. It was very cheap outside of the builder. So we just waited. We had the cabinets, it had no handles, and then they came in like soon after we closed and they put the handles in. So really odd because how else are you supposed to open your cabinets? I don't know. Also, if you cook, make sure you seal your grout, especially if it's white. Make sure you seal it so that stains don't stick on the grout as easily. Obviously, this is white. Again, we cook with a lot of tomatoes, so make sure you seal that grout. Next up is the sink. There's literally so many different sinks out there. We weren't that into it. You can spend a lot of money on sinks, especially through a builder, but even outside a builder, and like the kitchen sink faucet, so many different options. We just made sure to have our kitchen sink faucet black. That was our main concern, but there's like a lot of cool modern faucets that you can use. It does get pretty high up there. We were very, very surprised at how much a sink can cost. Things to consider for your sink and what we ultimately opted for. So you'll notice, let me see if I can get a good view of it. For our sink, we have these like round edges right here. So typically, I guess for a modern house, you would want to get this more square sink. So it's like straight lines here. However, in our apartment before this, we had that type of sink, and like there would just be like stuff that gets stuck in the corners where like the lines would meet, that I absolutely hated and was disgusted by. And so we opted up for the round edges, so it's like much easier to clean. Definitely something to keep in mind because I absolutely could not stand that square sink. Now, usually there's a lot of sinks that are less modern that have like the divider here. And it was really cool because you can pick if the divider is like halfway through, or you can pick the divider is like a quarter through. So you can separate things if you're like, I don't know, defrosting something or like putting dishes here versus different dishes here, whatever. It gives you the options to separate. It just makes it look less modern. It was really hard for us to not add in the divider. Well, it was hard for me to not add in divider, but ultimately like just this look looks more sleek and nice, and it's just good to have like a huge open space space sink, very large exercise sink. It's like very deep too, which is really cool. So we opted to not get the divider, but that's just something to consider. It was kind of a difficult choice. Also, definitely don't forget to add like a drawer for a trash can and a recycling bin. Oftentimes I know people forget, and so you have to have the trash on the outside and find like a perfect place for it, and then it gets in the way. So just add a drawer to put the trash and the recycling, and then you can close it up and it's nicely hidden away. I hope those tips were helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you next time where I break down our main bathroom and show you the details of what we chose and why.